How's it everyone, Grant here, welcome back to the channel, and in this video I'll be showing you 5 setup tips for your Sony XZ1 compact, and pretty much any Sony phone running the Android Oreo update, and that's pretty much a lot of the most recent Sony phones because they've really been up to date on the updates here. So let's just go ahead and unlock the phone, and as you can see, unlocks pretty quickly. But the first tip I want to talk about here is going to be in the display settings. So if we go into settings and we check out display, I will mention the one thing that I'm a bit disappointed in is that there is no double tap to wake here on the XZ1 compact. It existed on the X compact and they both have the same display if I'm not mistaken. So really disappointed to see double tap to wake not here. So if you wanted that, it's not going to be here on the XZ1 compact. And the one tip that I wanted to show you here was in the display quality. So you're going to have this color gamut and contrast, and you're going to have a bunch of different modes here. And so if you're really into the super saturated, really bright, vibrant colors of Samsung AMOLED displays, you're probably going to select the super vivid mode. And as you can see here, everything is just really super saturated. The blues, I'm not sure if it's coming through on camera, but it's much deeper than what the camera here is showing you. And it's not really the correct color of blue, although the reds are very deep. So I don't really like this setting. I tend to keep it on the standard mode here. And by default, if you go into white balance, it's nice that you get the RGB settings. Everything's going to be here to the far left. And it's going to be kind of yellowish and a little bit too warm. So if you really like cool tones and LCD displays, you're probably going to shift this blue all the way to the right. And you'll get that nice, cool LCD color tone display that you're probably used to. And that's pretty much where I would set it. You also get this video image enhancement to get a little bit more saturation into your videos. And I actually like this setting here. So I would prefer to keep it on. So just letting you know that there. But that is my one quick tip. Number two, the second tip I have here is going to be around your battery. So they do have your traditional battery life settings here. And the one thing that I would recommend is around battery care. So it's up to you if you want to leave this on, but I recommend turning it off. So what this feature does, and it is a feature if you want it, if you're used to charging your phones while you sleep overnight, what this will do is it'll charge it up to 90% and stop, and it'll learn your sleep patterns over time. And when it knows you, if you wake up on a regularly set schedule, like during your work week, it'll know when you wake up and when to start charging it from 90% to 100. So if you like that, that can actually help preserve the battery life of your phone over time, but it also will prevent it from really taking advantage of the full quick charging capabilities. So if you just want it to charge as quickly as possible and you don't always have it plugged in all night, overnight, every night, I would suggest turning it off. That's where I actually leave it. The third setting I have is around audio quality and sound. So Sony actually has some above average audio quality for earphones, as well as the dual front-facing speakers. But it does have some advanced audio settings here. So if you go into here and you select audio settings, you'll see a bunch of different audio settings. You could choose some of these other settings like this DSEEHX or Clear Audio Plus, but I would suggest turning those off, keeping the normalizer on, which just keeps songs at same volumes so you don't get that blast of sound. But I would go into sound effects and actually put in a custom equalizer. So this actually makes a difference in sound quality, especially when you're listening to your headphones. And so you can customize this to whatever sound curve you really like. So I like that V curve to maximize the treble and the bass, boost up the mids a little bit, and max out the bass on the bottom. And this definitely makes a difference to sound quality. So I would suggest you go in here and mess with the equalizer settings. They do have some presets here, but I do like customizing it to my tastes. And that's really what I would suggest if you want to get the most out of your headphone listening experience here on these Sony phones. So tip number 4 I have is around the stock Sony launcher. And I actually like the stock launcher. It's pretty close to a stock Android launcher. By default, if you swipe in from the left, you have that Google Now style launcher where it gets into the Google app. If you long press, you can see some other options here on the stock launcher, not just to adjust widgets, wallpapers, themes, transitions, but also the grid size. By default, the grid size is something like 4x, where you're only going to have 4 icons across. I enable 5x5. I think getting 5 icons across on a compact screen is still very visible while maximizing your home screen real estate. So I suggest 5x5, but apply that or change that to your tastes. But I would recommend 5x5 if you want to get a little bit more on your screen. And it's still very visible here on the compact display. Next is if you go into settings, you can see here you can disable that Google feed if you don't like it, as well as auto rotation of the home screen. Icon size, I usually change this to small on my other Sony phones, but being a very small display, I keep it on large so you can kind of see what that look like there. And then icon appearance. So if you like to use icon packs, you can actually use your custom icon pack here with the stock launcher if you want. So that's a very nice feature there. And hide apps icon. So by default, this is turned off. And as you can see here, you're going to have your app launching icon by default. No swipe up features. You're actually going to have to press on that icon to get to your app launcher, and you waste some real estate with that icon. So if you want the more traditional newer Android launcher experience without that icon, the swipe up feature. Just go back into settings and turn on hide apps icon. And there you can see there it enables that swipe feature, and you no longer have that app icon, and you can maximize your icons in the dock there. So I recommend you turn that off if you're used to traditional swipe up for your Android app launcher there. And here are some other kind of settings that you see here in the launcher settings. You can actually do quick add icons, which I don't like. I don't want to add everything every time I add a new app, or automatically place icons together. So this is snap icons in place. I don't really like that, so I disable that. But it's up to you, whatever else you want to kind of enable and disable. But there are a lot of options here on the stock Sony launcher, and it looks very much like a stock Android experience, which I do like. And the last tip that I'll have is around the camera. So here you can see the Sony camera app here. It does record at the 4K and even 1080p 60 frames per second. But the tip that I do have is around the front-facing camera. Instead of pressing the icon there, you can swipe down as a gesture to get to your front-facing camera, like you can on other phones. But the tip that I do have is going to settings here and actually disabling the soft skin effect. So if you don't like the softness in your skin tones, you can turn that off there. It's usually somewhere on the screen on other phones. I had to actually find that. It's buried in the menu here. So if you don't like that, you can turn that off. That's where you're going to do it. And also here on the Sony XZ1 Compact, you do have a wide angle front camera. So enable that, you just hit that icon and you get that wide angle view. So if you want wide angle front camera to fit more people into your selfies, you actually do have that option right there. So those are my 5 setup tips for the Sony Xperia XZ1 Compact. And again, like I said, this pretty much applies to any Sony phone. More recent Sony phones running the Android Oreo update, which just so happens to be pretty much all of them at this point. Sony's really been good of keeping up to date with all the updates around getting it up to date on Oreo, as well as your monthly updates. So those are my 5 quick tips for you there. If you have any other questions or comments, leave them down below. And as always, thanks very much for watching.